It is 1 p.m. in Ankara. It is 5 a.m. in Mexico City. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. Also ahead, you don't see him there often, but his influence is significant. Russia's President Putin takes a rare trip to the West Bank. NATO has called the shooting down of a Turkish military jet by Syria unacceptable. The international alliance has just been holding emergency talks in Brussels as tensions simmer between the two countries. Turkey's Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been speaking to his country's parliament. He says even if they violated Syrian airspace, that's still no excuse for attacking it. Turkey says the jet was shot down in international airspace before crashing off the coast of the Syrian city of Latakia. Media reports say a second Turkish jet was also fired on. Turkey has called the incident a hostile act against its national security. Well, under Article 4 of the NATO treaty, any member that thinks its security is under threat can call for consultations with its NATO allies. Article 5 allows member states to appeal for a collective military response. Turkey hasn't done that yet, and it's only been invoked by the U.S. after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Well, CNN's Ivan Watson is following the story for us. He's in Istanbul in Turkey. He joins us now live. And Ivan, how far is Ankara and Turkey willing to go?
Monita.
Thank you, Ivan Watson there in Istanbul. Russian President Vladimir Putin is meeting today with Palestinian leaders as part of a visit to the Middle East. He is holding talks with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank city of Bethlehem. Elise Labich, she joins us now live from Jerusalem. Elise, how significant is this visit by President Putin?
Well, I think it's very significant, Monita, for several reasons. First of all, and when it comes to Israel, the last time a Russian president, Vladimir Putin, during his first term, came to Israel was in 2004. And then I'm told by Israeli officials before that it was at the time of the Tsar.
Elise, thank you. Elise Labich there in Jerusalem. You're watching World One live from London. Britain's Queen Elizabeth continues to celebrate her Diamond Jubilee, and today she's off on a 2-day trip to Northern Ireland. Now, what's significant about this is that for the first time ever, the Queen will shake hands with Northern Ireland's Deputy First Minister, Martin McGuinness. He is a former commander of the Irish Republican Army, which conducted a long-running terror campaign to try to drive the British out of Ireland. But first she'll visit Enniskillen, where an IRA bomb killed 11 people in 1987. Well, let's see what newspapers in the region are saying about this. The Irish Daily Mail has this headline, "Power of a Handshake." And it goes on to say, a handshake is a simple gesture, one that most of us engage in without a second thought. Tomorrow, we will see one of the most widely anticipated ever in events in these islands as Martin McGuinness finally shakes hands with Queen Elizabeth II of England. In the Irish Times, the headline is "The Handshake and the Wider Context." It's a comment piece that says the meeting in Belfast signifies as much about this transformation of Sinn Féin as it does about the transformation of relations between the communities within Northern Ireland and between our two islands and nations. And finally, the Herald in Scotland also weighing in. This is the headline, "Queen setting the bar high for all in Northern Ireland." It's an opinion piece that goes on to say, when the Queen reaches out to Mr. McGuinness, she will do so as monarch and as head of state whose forces fought in Northern Ireland. Crucially, she will also do so as a bereaved relative. That's referring there to the Queen's cousin, Louis Mountbatten, who was assassinated by the Provisional IRA in 1979. The Vatican has faced a lot of public relations challenges lately. Now it has hired a veteran news correspondent to refine its communications strategy. CNN's Lisa Sylvester brings us that story. 2 gunmen are on the run in Mexico after a shootout on Monday left 3 police officers dead. The police were trying to foil a suspected drug trafficking operation. Shootout is symptomatic of Mexico's deep-rooted drug problems, and its government declared war on drug traffickers 5.5 years ago, and the crackdown continues today. Now, officials say that during that time, at least 47,000 people have been killed in drug-related violence fueled by the feuding cartels. And just to give you an idea there, 90% of the cocaine that enters the U.S. is smuggled via Mexico. And last year alone, Mexican authorities said they seized 90 kilograms of cocaine at the airport where the shooting took place. So far this year, they've already confiscated 200 kilos. Well, later today in New York, the United Nations will hear about the impact that drugs and crime have on development and poverty. On this, the UN's International Day Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking. For more on that, we want to bring in Anne Fordham. She's the Executive Director of the International Drug Policy Consortium. Anne, thank you very much for being with us. This day isn't just about saying no to drugs.
It absolutely isn't about just saying no to drugs. I mean, it's you mentioned that today the UN General Assembly will meet to discuss.
Very much for your time. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're watching World One. Coming up next, Cyprus has become the fifth Eurozone country to request emergency aid to keep its economy afloat. The small Mediterranean nation has been heavily exposed to debt-crippled Greece. The debt crisis rumbles on in Europe. In the U.S., many are still trying to deal with the consequences of a deep slump in the real estate market. One group in particular has been hit harder than most. As Adriana Hauser reports, in the Latino community, the number of people losing their homes is on the rise.
Business was steady and going.
Leaders in South Africa are thrashing out new ways to tackle poverty and unemployment. The ruling African National Congress is holding a 4-day meeting. CNN's Nkapile Mabuse reports. The corporation is considering splitting itself into two companies. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that today, and that comes in the wake of the phone hacking scandal, which has rocked Rupert Murdoch's media empire. The proposed split would separate News Corp's newspaper arm, that business unit. Let's get more on this story. We're joined by CNN's Christine Romans in New York. And Christine, is this a smart business move, I guess what we'd call damage limitation, or is it a stark indictment of just of a business that could be ruining Murdoch's empire?
Well, it's interesting because this is something that investors have been asking for and wanting well before the phone hacking scandals.
You're watching World One live from London. Russian President Vladimir Putin is making his first visit in 7 years to the Palestinian territories. I want to get a closer look now at President Putin's talks with Middle East leaders. Joining us now is Palestinian diplomat Hanan Ashrawi. She's in Ramallah. Dr. Ashrawi, thank you very much for being with us. It's good to see you. What do you think of Mr. Putin's visit? How significant is it for Palestinians?
It's very significant in a variety of ways. It's significant regionally in terms of claiming a special space for...
Hanan Ashrawi, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us here on World One.
Thank you.
The newly elected president of Egypt, well, he has begun to put together a new government. Since the ruling military council retains much of power, Mohamed Morsi will have control of the day-to-day administration. Well, there were a few surprises on the opening day of Wimbledon Tennis Championship. So what has the tournament got in store for us today? Alex Thomas has a preview.
Yes, the record 7-time French Open champion Rafael Nadal is hoping to use that momentum from Roland Garros to reclaim. What I mean is, I don't agree at all.
I just don't care, they say probably, right? Don't care. It's not nice to be called boring, is it?
No, it's not. And Spain are very, very good.
You're not boring, Alex. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're watching World One live from London. Remember when you first got your first Harry Potter book? Well, take a listen to this. Welcome back. You are watching World One live from London. Happy anniversary, Harry. In June 1997, an unknown author introduced the world to a boy who lived in a cupboard under the stairs, but he was no ordinary boy. And one day he would turn out to be a great wizard. And it has been 15 years since J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published, the start of one of the most successful series of stories of all time. All 7 Harry Potter books have been #1 bestsellers worldwide and have been translated into 70 different languages. More than 400 million copies have been sold to millions of muggles, and there have been 8 movies bringing in billions of dollars. And the first film, released in 2001, had the greatest success, grossing over $900 million. And the Potter series didn't just turn books into gold, they turned 11-year-old Daniel Radcliffe into a global star. He was so young. Well, something else lots of people are talking about, well, including Harry Potter. Well, they're also talking about the weather. Let's turn to Mary Ramos at the World Weather Center to see what kind of magic she may have in store for us.
You know what? Good segue there. I like that, Monita. Very talented. You know what? We're going to go ahead and start with weather at Wimbledon. I wanted to kind of bring you up to date on this.
Mari, thank you for that. You're watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. We'll update you the news headlines in just a couple of minutes right here on CNN.